Hi everyone, Squeak the New Chair Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Adeem the Artist record, White Trash Revelry. Singer-songwriter Adeem the Artist, now several albums deep into their career. This LP is the latest. It is out now via 4 Quarter Records. And this album came across my desk by way of a sly little recommendation from one Mr. Mark Grondin, aka Spectrum Pulse, who is usually good for a country recommendation or two, among other things. Mark and some other reviewers covered the small splash that Adeem made on the indie circuit of the country genre with their last full-length LP, Cast Iron Pansexual. I don't think I need to explain what that title conveys and how rare it is to come across such a perspective in the country field, even with artists like Orville Peck making waves this year. And Adeem isn't exactly subtle about their experience and point of view either, as well as how it's often in opposition to the world they grew up in. In fact, I would say that's what the bulk of this record is about. And it tells this tale with some really great fusions of country, folk, and rock music across its track list. I will say on this LP, occasionally there are some instrumentals and chord progressions that are a little run-of-the-mill or basic, but at the very least, Adeem's vocals and storytelling are always delivered with conviction, and the production does come across very tasteful and organic, not this dolled-up garbage that you get out of many industry albums. So even if the sound of this LP isn't super original, it's still clean, it's still crisp, it still sets a strong stage for Adeem's passionate drawls and bold storytelling, which they ease us into on the opening track, Carolina, which does feature a lot of lyrics unique to Adeem's experience, but I think can be read to be relatable in a much wider way. It's a moving ballad about the randomness of life and even being born at all, and paints existence generally as this struggle to define and understand who you are, as well as giving yourself grace if your upbringing and childhood were particularly confusing or hard. The following cut for Judas is a slice of life style image of a love story, with various goings-on around a couple that's enjoying each other's time and company. There's a will he, won't he quality to the story as well, with an extra layer of tension being brought by the need for openness about their relationship due to its queer nature, and obviously the fear that it will be rejected or misunderstood. There's also a quiet intimacy to the performance and instrumentation on the track that makes it extra touching. The heat turns up, though, on the following Heritage of Arrogance, which is a country rocker that describes growing up around broken moral compasses and rebel flags. Adeem's lyrics call out false equivalencies between things like racists and those fighting for racial equality, among other things, though a lot of the track does boil down to confronting whiteness and America's broken history. There's a determined attitude and a Springsteen-y kind of quality to this track that makes it righteous, kick-ass, and infectious, honestly. There are similar themes of protest and change going on with the track Run This Town, where we are kind of joining in with the local council and I guess making friends with the town sheriff. That sort of thing may take 13 or 12 months to achieve. And I'm not sure if we have that kind of time, 13 or 12 months. But maybe this kind of message spreads wider when it's given more honey than vinegar. Who knows? It does seem well-intentioned, and at least there is an anti-corporate sentiment to it, and there's so little information, news, and art out there currently acknowledging the fact that there is kind of slowly happening this fascist takeover of local politics due to the ugliness going on in mainstream politics at the moment. And good on Adeem for pointing it out, I suppose. Plus also kudos to their vocal swagger on the cut, as well as cute little rock and roll riffs that make the song really fun. There are some other tracks on the record that aren't so much in the here and now. They are very much about processing a dark, maybe even traumatic past. There is Painkillers and Magic, which features bitter and sweet combinations of youth, innocence, addiction, as well as religiosity and trauma, and wanting more than what you've been given. It's one of many tearful moments on the record for sure. And the gospel-inspired breakdown at the very end is fantastic. Baptized in Well Spirits works through a lot of similar themes as well. Again, the need for a spiritual guide to bring one to a better place, but then simultaneously the temptation toward alcohol or drugs, or just a need to drown one's sorrows in something. But of course, the narrative being portrayed on this track track is happening much later in Adeem's life, not so much a childhood thing. Meanwhile, Middle of a Heart also calls back to a much earlier time and tells a very simple and heartwarming story about a young kid's hunt, learning to kill a deer with the quickness, but then later in life finding yourself in that economic trap where in order to move up the ladder, you need that higher education. So hey, join the military. It'll only be for a few years. Then from there, narratively, we have the juxtaposition of the killing in the hunt with killing in a war context, and with that, a pretty salient point about conditioning is made. The song Going to Hell does lighten things a little bit in terms of mood because there's a hilarious irreverence about this cut, with Adeem singing that they play country songs in heaven, but they play them louder in hell, essentially laughing in the face of anyone who might frame Adeem or anyone with their lifestyle, a similar lifestyle as, you know, kind of living through Satan himself, being evil. There are some funny nods on the track to the Charlie Daniels Band, as well as Robert Johnson, saying he showed Adeem how the blues could work, and then going on to say, but white men would rather give the devil praise than acknowledge a black man's worth, which is one of many atomic-level truth bombs dropped throughout the record. Plus, the peppy bluegrass instrumental on the track is exhilarating fun. This kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude continues onto the track Redneck, UNREAD, HICKS, which, yes, does follow a slower, more lumbering pace, but still makes sharp points about embracing queerness and seeing more openness about the LGBTQ community among southern and rural communities, and does so with a lot of personality, lyrical wit, and heart. The hard-hitting content on this LP continues through to the end. There's Books and Records, which is a track that's very much about gentrification, rising rents, not being able to afford where you once lived, and in the face of that, needing to sell your books, your records, your prized possessions, family heirlooms, but eventually hoping to buy them back at some point. Good luck. But really, this track is a dense and difficult ball of struggle and nostalgia. It's profoundly sad in the way that the best country music is, especially when it's in touch with the roots of the genre. My America, I thought, was a pretty interesting send-off for the album as well, mostly because the track works on a few different layers and sees Adeem singing from a different perspective, that of a more ignorant traditional country artist, but who is genuinely trying to convey the feelings and fears of their audience that may be genuinely concerned about seeing the world that they grew up with and remember from when they were young dying. Which, even given the concept, does seem like an odd sentiment to throw on a record that is so deeply infatuated with radical change. But still, for what it's trying to attempt, it's still a moving sentiment and a beautiful tune. It would seem Adeem contains multitudes, which is why, among many other things, I am feeling a strong 8 on this record. Great record, fantastic record, a few instrumentals and progressions that I found to be a bit of a snooze, but still a beautiful album with, again, a lot of heart, great writing, a lot of personality, unique perspective, and good quality songwriting. Very catchy, very sweet, very fun from front to back, and moving as well. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Adeem the Artist, forever.